So I want to officially say on behalf of the American Sephardi Federation Institute of Jewish Experience, on behalf of Ray Connectar, on behalf of Jeannie Milgram, we are very happy today to have Rabbi Albert Gabbai joining us, actually leading us. So we have had a very nice working relationship until now, and he knows how much I truly appreciate him, both as the rabbi at Mikveh Israel and also just as a person. So I want to make sure that we all understand that. And his long history with the Spanish-Portuguese minhag and prayer services and the whole kit and caboodle of the Spanish-Portuguese. So you didn't come to hear me. I'm going to hand it over. And thank you, everybody. Continue to put into the chat where you're signing in from. As people come in, I'll remind them also. Do you want me to start with sharing, or you want to start talking first?
I'm sorry, talking to me?
Yeah, do you want me to share the Haggadah first, or do you want to talk first?
Let's first talk, and then we will share.
Perfect. So I just want to make sure everybody understands. I will be monitoring the chat and the questions and answers throughout. So Rabbi Gabbai already knows I interrupt, and he's okay with it because he loves questions. So please do ask questions throughout, and I will be sure to try to get some answers. And if some of them will be afterwards. So we're going to have a formal presentation and then time for allowing you to also join with questions and answers. So throw it in. I'll be here.
Thank you, Laura. Very kind of you. I want to thank first the American Sephardi Federation and, of course, Laura, who is in charge of these wonderful programs, because she's an expert in doing that and choosing also wonderful topics. So I wish them that they continue more and more on these wonderful programs. They are very important because it educates a lot of people who may or may not know about different Jewish traditions. Those who may not know will benefit, certainly, and those who know, it's a good revision. Every year we are supposed to review the holidays. The Talmud says 30 days before a holiday, we start discussing all the laws, all the halachot, all the customs that pertain to that holiday. But this time we have only 3 days.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We should have started earlier then. Okay, so for Shavuot, we're going to have to start earlier. Everybody watch your mailing and the social media. We're going to have to start earlier for the next holidays. So sorry, I won't interrupt too much.
No problem. Please do interrupt anytime you want, because it helps a lot to put some context. You still have time because we still have 3 days, so there is enough time, thank God, to do that. In Judaism, if we prepare for the holiday or for Shabbat, we can have a wonderful, smooth, marvelous, good experience on that holiday or the Shabbat. If we wait until the last minute, who knows what will happen. So it's good that you are all here. Thank you for joining here. Let's start from the beginning. We have a holiday called Passover in English, called Pesach in Hebrew, and when we read it in the prayer books, it says Hag HaMatzot, the holiday of the Matzot. Well, you ask yourself, why is it not called Pesach? Why is it called Hag HaMatzot? Well, Pesach is really the Korban Pesach, is a sacrifice that we would have had, right, had the building of the temple in existence. Then we would have offered that Paschal lamb, and we would have eaten it on that night. Right? However, the holiday is called now Hag HaMatzot because we don't have the Korban Pesach. And the question to start, before we start anything about the holiday, why are we observing this holiday? What is the purpose for this holiday? Why does the Torah tells us you must observe this holiday, and gives us a lot of things with what to observe it, right? So I know that you cannot answer, so I'm going to give you the answer.
Well, they can put answers into the chat. That's okay.
Oh yeah, that's very good. Excellent. So, for if you have already guessed, that's wonderful. And if not, it is really Zeman Cherutenu. It's the season of our freedom. It's something that is very dear to us. We know what freedom is because we experience slavery. Somebody who has experienced slavery will appreciate very much freedom. And so the Torah tells us that you have to remember that. Don't be also arrogant. Remember where you're coming from. You're coming from slavery. And you are now a free person. Now express your gratitude to God that He took you out of Egypt and made you free. Notice that I always talk in the first person plural. Never He took them out of Egypt and now they are celebrating the holiday. No, it's we. We have to experience that. It's going to come up in a few minutes in the Haggadah. Very important to make that connection. If you don't make, we'll talk about it in a few minutes about that. If you don't make the connection. All right. Anyway, so not only that we are observing that holiday and in full happiness, but also we have rituals with it. The rituals are very important. So you can ask the question: if I just believe and I say, okay, it's a holiday, let's just be happy, and I don't have any ritual, do you think that this holiday will survive? No way. Rituals are very important. That's what makes it continuously observed for generation to generation. You can ask yourself, did my parents observe the Haggadah, the Seder? Yes. Did my grandparents? Yes. My great-grandparents? Yes. My great-great-grandparents? Yeah. My great-great-great-great-great, all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu. Yes. That's why we have it. Otherwise, we would have lost it. You know, there is a holiday that unfortunately is not very well observed, and that is Shavuot, because in it there are very few rituals. You go to the synagogue, you listen to the 10 Commandments, there may be some flowers and plants in the synagogue, and you know that you have to take off, you don't work on that day. But that's many people, unfortunately, who are very far from Judaism, they don't observe that holiday because they are very far from Judaism, and they were not ingrained with rituals. So this one has a lot of rituals, and we're going to go through it. Now, on that night, on Wednesday night, we're going to sit all around the table. We would have prepared everything, and we would have the matzah in front of us. Right away, we have to know what is the matzah made of. The matzah is made of 5 grains that if you let them in contact with water, they will certainly become leavened. They will expand. So their 5 grains are wheat, oat, barley, rye, and spelt. These 5 grains, if you take them, you grind them, you get a flour. You take that flour, you put water with it, and you knead it, you get a dough. And that dough, that's the crucial part of it. That dough, if you let it like that for a while, let's say half an hour, it will rise. If you put yeast in it, it will really rise. And once that dough rises, it becomes chametz. That's why when we do the matzot, when we make them, when we bake them, the dough is immediately put into the oven in less than 18 minutes, and then you have matzah. If it's more than 18 minutes, then you have a big problem. You become chametz, and that is forbidden by the Torah, not by the rabbis, by the Torah. And the reason we will go through a lot of cleaning and everything is because not even a speck of chametz can be eaten on that day, on that whole week.
So there's a question. I think they misheard you. Can you repeat the 5 grains? Because somebody thought you said rice, which is not a grain.
That's right. So the 5 grains are wheat, oat, barley, rye, and spelt.
So that's why they thought rye and spelt. Just making sure.
Thank you very much. Rye and spelt. And people who don't know what spelt is, it's S-P-E-L-T. I just spelled it. Spelt. She got the message. She got the joke. Okay. So rice is not included, right? So which brings us right away to the Sephardi tradition. The Sephardi tradition follows exactly the halacha, the Jewish law, and do not add or subtract to it. So rice is permitted. It's not part of the 5 grains, right? Peas and all legumes are permitted. They're not part of the 5 grains. The question that many people say, how come Sephardim eat rice and legumes on Passover? And the question should be reversed. How come Ashkenazim took upon themselves the stringency of not eating rice and legumes? Right? So we have an explanation for that. In Ashkenazi lands, they didn't have silos that are separate from one to the other. So if you had a vat of rice next to a vat of wheat, and suddenly one of the grains of the wheat fell into the rice, then the whole rice will be chametz. And the Ashkenazi rabbis were very smart, and they said, you know what? For 8 days after the land of Israel, or 7 days in Israel, we don't have to. It's not the end of the world if you don't have rice. Okay, so that's where the stringency came in. Some had the misconception that rice also fermented, but rice does not ferment. Somebody also had the misconception that legumes also ferment, but they don't ferment. Only those 5 grains ferment, and once they ferment, they become chametz. Very good. All right. Now, thank God we have the rituals, and the rituals we're gonna all sit around the table on Wednesday night, right? After the whole house is clean. By the way, you don't have to clean the shades or the curtains, right? There is no chametz over there. You're not gonna eat from the curtains, okay? You can clean everything where food is, or is possibly would have been there. Like the children would take their cookies and they may put it in between the cushions of the sofa or something like that. That's what you have to look for. But places where certainly 100% you know that food didn't come there, then you don't have to really worry about that. Now we are now at last we are at the table, right? Just a small thing to be very, very conscientious of that. Very much so. It's a holiday of freedom, not of slavery. Ladies, particularly ladies, some gentlemen, please try to take it easy and do only what's necessary. Don't kill yourself. We'd love our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. We would love them to be around the table in good spirit and not exhausted and not waiting and about to collapse. No, please. Please help us, all of us. The family should be all happy together. All right. So the night is called Leil HaSeder, right? It's the translation means the night of the order. Sephardim call it Haggadah, and you know why later on. But anyway, the Seder means there is an order to it, right? So that order has 15 steps. So can we look at those 15 steps, please? Very good. So here they are. Thank you. Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpaf, Yachatz, Magid, Rachatz, Motzi, Matzah, Maror, Korech, Shulchan, Orech, Tafun, Barech, Hallel, Nirtzah. So, Kadesh means Kiddush. You're gonna have the Kiddush. I'm gonna go very quickly on that, and then because I'm gonna dwell on each one of them. Right? So, first one is Kadesh. Then we wash our hands. Then we're gonna eat some maybe celery or something like that, and then we break the matzah in two pieces. And then Magid Haggadah, and that's when you discuss the whole story of the Exodus. Maror eating the bitter herbs, Korach eating a sandwich. So sandwich was invented way before Lord Sandwich came and invented the modern sandwich. We have Hillel, who is the first one who invented a sandwich. So we have a whole festive meal. We eat afikoman, right? We're gonna talk about it. And we say Birkat Hamazon, after that Hallel, songs of praise, and concluding songs, and God willing to be accepted, everything that we have done. Great. So first thing that we do is, I would suggest to everybody that we start by reciting these in a beautiful melody. So different communities have different melodies. And I'll tell you one interesting. Look at this one. Kadesh Urchas Karpas Yahad Mahagid Rocha Motzi Matzah Maror Korech Shulchan Morech Safun Barech Halel Nirtzah. That's an easy melody, right? And you can adopt it, or you can adopt another one. Kadesh Urchas Karpas Yachas, etc. Whatever melody in your community use is very good. The one I sang, guess what? It's from Egypt. It was the national anthem of Egypt when the king was still there. It is interesting. We are told that you can take anything that is profane and elevate it to become kadosh, to become holy. So that's one example of that. Good. So I would suggest everybody should recite all these before, so that they know exactly what will be the next step. Very good. Okay.
Maybe we should do once more all the way through. If you can sing it once all the way through.
Another song?
Yeah, another tune. One tune all the way through.
One tune? Okay. Kadesh Urchat Karpas Yahas Magid Rochsa Motzi Masa Maror Korech Shulchan Morech Safun Barech Halel Nirtzah.
Excellent. So people can go back and listen to it and practice it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very, very good suggestion. Now, Kiddush. Kiddush is done with the wine. Why with the wine? Why with the wine? I want to make Kiddush over grape juice. I'm sorry, over orange juice, over milk, over water, over any other liquids. No. The reason is wine, because in the Psalm it says, "Veyayin yisamach levav enosh," that wine gladdens the heart of the human beings, and therefore we use wine because it's a holiday, it's a happy day. It's very important for us to be happy, and that's what we use wine in every happy occasion: Shabbat, holidays, Brit Milah, Zevet Habat, the naming of a baby girl, all that. Whenever you have occasions, you use wine for that. We are told that it's preferable to use red wine, but if somebody doesn't have red wine, then you can use white wine. If somebody is allergic or uncomfortable with wine, then you can use grape juice. But here's the order of preferences, right? Red wine, white wine, grape juice. Okay, very good. And then we recite that, and we have to lean to the left while we drink that first cup of Kiddush. It will be the same thing for all 4 cups of Kiddush, to recline to the left. And the question is, why do we recline when we drink the wine? Or when we're going to eat the matzah? So, as a symbol of freedom, still remember that. Don't forget, this is the holiday of freedom. When a symbol of freedom in ancient times was to eat while reclining on the left. Why the left? Why not the right? Very simple. Logic tells us that the left hand will be immobilized and your right hand will be free to pick up on the food. You must have seen some of the movies of the Greeks and the Romans when they ate their food. They reclined on a sofa and they reclined on the left and had their right hand free to pick up on whatever they had to take.
So do lefties recline to the right?
And the lefty also no, it should also recline on the left also. Why? Yeah, it's a good question. Because we try to make it uniform for everybody. And if you see somebody on the right and the left, it's going to confuse many people. So for just this instance of 4 cups and the matzah, it's okay. If you have to write another time, then you can use whatever hand you want. It's different from tefillin. If you're wearing tefillin, because tefillin says the weak arm, therefore we have to change, right? Okay, so we say the kiddush at our first cup, and we're gonna recline, and we're gonna drink it, and we have to drink the majority, 51% or more, of the cup of wine, and the cup should be at least 4 fluid ounces. Okay, and you can, if you have more, of course, you're gonna drink more than that. But if you have exactly 4 ounces, then you have to drink a bit more than 2 ounces, right? Reclining. If you did not recline while you drank, you have to drink again. So please, people, listen carefully. Don't do it on purpose in order to drink a second cup. Okay. All right. I know you enjoy it. Okay. All right. Okay. That's about the first thing that we have is to drink say the kiddush and then recline and drink it. Okay. Next is kadesh urchatz. Urchatz means to wash our hands. So why are we washing our hands? Because we're gonna eat celery or parsley. Therefore, why do we wash our hands? Our rabbis in ancient times knew that there was possibility of being sick. There will be germs in our hands. And because we're going to touch a humid vegetable, right? And therefore, they ask us to wash our hands. So it's not really a requirement to wash our hands like we're going to say for the bread. That's an obligation. This is just to wash the hands because the rabbis told us we have to wash our hands because we are to eat a vegetable. And we take that vegetable, whatever it is, let me see, some people call, the original one is a celery, karpas. That's the name of the word, karpas, celery. But other people can use parsley, and depending where they're coming from, maybe all cold countries, they would use maybe potatoes, right? Or anything like that, right? And then they're gonna dip it into, some have the custom of salt water. Sephardim don't use salt water. They use either vinegar or lemon juice. But if you have used also salt water, it's nothing wrong, right? But just to give you the knowledge that there are different customs between different communities. And they say a blessing of Borei Peri Ha'adama, that God has given us the fruit, who has created the fruit of the earth, right? Then we go to the next one, Kadesh Urchas karpas, yachatz. Yachatz is to break the matzah in the middle. So this means what? We have on the table 3 matzot, right? They represent, everybody has different opinion. That's fine with us. Whichever you want is good. Some say Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Some says Kohen, Levi, and Israel. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you have 3 matzot on the table. We are talking about the head table, right? And so we're going to take the one in the middle. We're going to break it in 2. Okay? You're going to break it in 2 equal sizes if you can. And you take the bigger half, which is a contradiction in words, as you can see. Bigger half, right? If you say 2 halves, they're equal. But you take the bigger half because the practicality is that you're going to break it not exactly in 2 halves. The bigger half is put aside for the afikoman. The afikoman will be used later on for the end of the Haggadah service, and I will talk about it in a few minutes. So let's continue now. We're gonna put that one aside. Some have a custom of hide it and ask the children to look for it. And it's a good custom. It has no basis whatsoever, none whatsoever in Judaism, but it's an excellent one because it keeps the children awake. And
do Sephardim use that? Is it a Sephardi custom?
Yes, Sephardi, there's different Sephardi custom. One of them is to put it aside and maybe hide it, right? Or to take it and put it on your shoulder, and you say, "Thus our ancestor went out of Egypt, and they carry the matzah on the shoulder." Right? So they have 2 different customs, and one that I don't like, and I hope that nobody teaches the children about. They say the children have to steal the matzah.
Mm-hmm.
We should never teach children how to steal, even if it is a joke, even if whatever it is. We have to teach them the right things. So
I just have to tell you because we're talking about it. So my husband is Yemenite, and he used to go to his grandparents for Seder night. Right. And he was taught in school that you need to steal the afikoman. And he stole the afikoman. His grandfather whacked him and said, "That's what they teach you in these schools. This is what you learn." So you reminded me of that.
Good. God bless him. God bless him. He teaches the children very well. So, and of course, you want to keep them awake and you want to give them a gift. You go look for it, and they go for it and they find it. You make it easy for them to find it, okay? And so don't hide it too much. Don't forget the whole Seder, the whole Haggadah is particularly made for the children, so that they see all these things that are unusual. They're not accustomed to all these things. So we get to the next one is Magid, the Haggadah, telling the story. So in the Torah, we are told that you have to tell the story. You shall teach your children this story. So we start with a very interesting paragraph. Halach ma'anya. This is the bread of affliction. Now, why do we start with that? By saying also, let who are hungry come and eat. Why don't we go straight into the story? And this is an extremely important lesson for all of us to remember, that our happiness is never complete unless we have around our table people who are hungry, people who need us, and they may be poor, not only in food, they may be poor in company, in emotion, in every possible way. We bring them in and we tell them to come in and share with us. Harambam, my managers, tell us that he who enjoys a meal with the family and his wife and children, everybody around the table, and does not have pur is a celebration of the stomach. And there is no greater mitzvah, he continues to say that, there is no greater mitzvah than to gladden the heart of the poor. So that's why we start with that one. Now minhag, a custom. This is when, according to Sephardim, when you open the door, you don't open the door when for Eliyahu Hanavi, because Eliyahu Hanavi can come through the door, through the windows, through the walls, to anywhere he wants to come. No problem. He's always welcome. Right? You don't have to open the door for him. But for this, we open the door for anybody who's really hungry or is poor, wants to come, and we recite that 3 times. Right? And it's written in Aramaic, not in Hebrew, because that was the language of everybody, particularly the common people, not the educated people. The common people spoke Aramaic. The educated people spoke Hebrew. And therefore that was in Aramaic. And since it is the language of the common people, I would suggest that you read it in English, if that's the language where you are, or in French or in Spanish, whatever language that the common people would understand, and invite them, and they should be around your table. Okay, very good. Next one is, next paragraph is, Man ishtana halal hazeh. Why this night different from the other nights? I have a question about this question. My question is, why is it a question? Why don't you tell me the story right away? Why do you keep on being in suspense and you say, why is this night different from the other nights? So, but you know, Jews, you always answer a question with a question, right? So here's the story. If you open a page of the Talmud, it will be always question and answer. So why that? It's the best pedagogical way of teaching people. You ask the question, you let them ponder, and let them come with the answer on their own, and then you give them the answer. Hopefully, it will be the same one they came to, the same thing. And if not, they will learn something new. But if you give an answer, they may forget it, what the answer is. And all of us has that experience when we're in school, and we know exactly what it means. All right? So question is very important. And now we have here the common Ashkenazi melody, Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot, and they repeat each thing, repeat and repeat and repeat. You know, no wonder the Haggadah lasts until past 2 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, that's one melody. But there is a Sephardi melody about that. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot. And now there is a big disagreement between Rashi and Rambam. Rashi says that's the way you sing it, the way we have it in front of you. That שבכל לילות אנו אוכלים חמץ ומצה. הלילה הזה כולו מצה. So first thing is about the matzah. And Haraman says no, you cannot have that question first. You have to first talk about the bitter herbs, because that's what you dip, right? And therefore, since it's called the seder, the order, that's your question should be first what you encounter first, and then you get the matzah. So in the Sephardi Haggadot, you'll find these 2 questions, the order of the questions reversed. That's all. The priority of the order of the question. Otherwise, it's the same thing, right? And so here's the melody. מה נשתנה הלילה הזה מכל הלילות, שבכל הלילות אנו מטבלים אפילו פעם אחת, הלילה הזה 2 פעמים. Here's the third question, it's not the second. And etc. And there is no repetition, of course, right? And now the question is that you have to go back, question and answer, and let's say you have children, great. You ask the children to ask the question, and they ask the question. Let's say there's no question, it's only you and your wife, or I should say, you and your spouse. What do? Then one asks the question, the other answers. And let's say you're all by yourself. What do? You ask yourself the question, and you answer yourself the question. Right? That's explicit in Harambam. Maimonides said that. Okay, very good. All right. So this is that's the question of the people, because the children are gonna see something like that and say, "What's gonna happen here? Let explain to me." Okay. Next is Abadim Hayinu beFaro b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. The Talmud tells us you start with shame and you end with praise. So it's nothing to be proud to be a slave, but one has to be. But nevertheless, we have to start that in order to appreciate our freedom, and that's why we have that paragraph. We were once slave, and God took us out of Egypt. Right. Next one. I see that the time is going a bit fast, so I am trying to dwell on the thing that I would like to go further. Then we are told that we have to recite the whole Haggadah, the whole story of the Exodus, right? Even if you are very smart and you know everything, you must recite it again, okay? So, and it even give us four very famous rabbis who, nevertheless, they knew exactly what the story is, but they knew it, and they had to converse and recite the whole story, right? Okay, and then we have to know that we are to understand that remembering the exodus from Egypt should be said day and night, and also, God willing, in the world to come also, right? Now we go to the four children. These four children are a wise one, Rasha, I'm going to say a skeptic one, and Hatam, a simple-minded one, and one who doesn't know how even to ask. So the Chacham, the one who is wise, he knows, he studied everything, and he knows what it is. So you just go over it again, and it's like a repetition, like rehearsal, right? And for him, for the one that is skeptic, he says, "What is it for you and not for me?" He says, "You," as if he took himself away from the community, and because he doesn't know about Judaism, and therefore he's very sarcastic about it. That's his way of defending himself, right? Then you have the one that is simple-minded. That's one who really, in life, he sees what's going on around, but he's not curious. Nothing excites him, right? And the third one is he is oblivious to everything that's around. And there is also the fifth one. Do you know the fifth one is? Is the one that is roaming the street on that night of Pesach. And he's still our son. He's still our child. Bring him in also, right? So all of these are still our children. They're still our children, and we care for them, and we're gonna guide them. Very much so, okay? Especially for if you are knowledgeable, absolutely you have to go and help the people, right? All right. Now we're gonna skip that because of the time. I'm very sorry that I went. I have a lot to cover.
And we didn't start the 30 days before, but also I want to make sure if people have questions while you're listening, please do put them in the chat, because that's also, and it could be about anything, not exactly what we're talking about. So just, I'm going to let you keep talking. I just wanted to.
Thank you. Very, very important. Yes. So now we're going to go to a very important aspect of of that. We have to know that God Himself took us out of Egypt. He didn't say, Moshe Rabbeinu, you take them out. He didn't send an angel to take them out. No, He Himself. Why? Why God Himself took us out of Egypt? Why He didn't send somebody? The answer is very important. Because God is Abinu Shebashamayim. He's our Father. A father doesn't send somebody to take the child to teach, to school or to whatever he has to go. He or she, of course. No, father or a mother they care about the children. Okay, and that's why God Himself took us out of Egypt. All right. I want to go a bit, and then we go to the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues that came is that we ask ourselves, why did God have to bring 10 plagues? I mean, the Egyptians suffered a lot, and maybe some among them were innocent, perhaps. No, they were not innocent, because they all contributed in that. It's very clear very clear in the Torah that all the Mitzrim, they did not, when the baby boys were thrown into the river, do you hear of any Egyptian saying, no, that's wrong, don't do that? No, none of them. And therefore, they deserve the punishment. And why 10? Why not 1? Because the 10 is each one of the plague was against one of the gods of Egypt. To tell the Egyptians, your gods, look what I'm doing with them. They are worth nothing. And therefore, do not believe in stupidities. So therefore, all these 10 plagues are equivalent to the god of the Nile, the god of the frogs, etc., etc. Why? Although that's one reason to teach the Egyptian that, and to teach us that He really cared about us. He could have taken us right away. No. So you know that He went through the effort to take us out of Egypt. All right. Next is the Dayenu song. Everybody knows it, right?
Not everybody.
Okay, not everybody. Okay, the common Ashkenazi one goes like that. Dayenu. You see, whenever you have repetition, it's Ashkenazi one. Dayenu, right? And there are, of course, different melodies. Many people have different. One very interesting Sephardic custom, when you say Dayenu, is among the Persian Jews. The Jews of Persia, what do? They get scallion, and they did Dayenu, and they hit their friends with a scallion on the back. Of course, it doesn't hurt because it's scallion. And why do they do that? And they explained to me that it's in order that this new year, because as you know, Nisan is the beginning of the year. New Year will be full of greenery, right? Vegetables, fruits, wonderful things. So it's a way of wishing them happiness. So they use scallion and they hit each other on the back. All right, I hope. Okay, now the 3 things that are very important: matzah, Pesach, matzah umaror, are very important. This is the center of the Haggadah that we have to mention them. Pesach, matzah umaror. This we have to do them. We have to express why do we have that, and you have it in the text. You can read the text what it says. Now it says something very important here. Let us keep. It says, Hayab Adam. It is an obligation on a person to consider that person as if he himself, she herself, came out of Egypt. Not only our ancestors, but us presently, we came out of Egypt. Right? So what is that? Why do we have that? Right? In order that we experience what it is and appreciate our freedom. A person that is enslaved, or taken in modern time, let's say a person who is in prison, for that person, he is exactly every single day the same. He cannot control the calendar, but the free people can control the calendar. So when we got our independence on 4th of July, we decided that 4th of July will be a holiday for us because we're free. We can do that. Same thing here. We are free, we do that. Now, there is a Sephardi tradition, very interesting, that I'll mention that to you, that our father of blessed memory would tell us, dress like if ancient times you were traveling. So, okay, we went to the bathroom, we took the bathrobe, put it around, it's like a robe of ancient times, and we put a belt around it, and we, for staff, people traveled with a staff always. We took the broom, and we took our slippers, as if we were going on a trip. And our father would ask us, children, where are you coming from? And we say, Mimitzrayim, from Egypt. And where are you going to? We're going to Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem. You see the rhyme also, Mitzrayim and Yerushalayim, rhyme is beautiful. He said, okay, very good. Now come sit down. We're going to have a wonderful meal together. So this is one of the customs that people do. And now I'm going to tell you something very interesting. It says that everyone has to feel and to act as if he himself came out of Egypt. Well, for me, it's not difficult because I was born in Egypt and I came out of Egypt. So I can feel it right away. For other people, they have to make an effort to to digest that concept and say, yes, I came out of Egypt. All right?
But you did that custom putting on the robes when you were in Egypt.
That's right. Also even in Egypt, exactly right. So then we are now to wash our hands for Hamotzi, and we're gonna eat both the matzah, right, and the matzah shemura, that is the obligatory fulfilling the mitzvah of eating matzah on that night. Everybody is supposed to eat, and when you eat the matzah, you have to recline on the left, and everybody, men and women. But the Talmud says only important women should recline, and not common women. And so, because there may be some guests around, and maybe they're not dressed properly, or whatever the robe, whatever it is, the reason they said that. And so, many husbands try to say to their wives, "You don't have to recline. You're not important." They did not survive. They went in hospital after that. So nowadays, every single Jewish woman is very important, and they must recline like the men. Everybody. All right. And then you say you're gonna eat the sandwich that Hillel made, which is the matzah and the maror together, that you dip into the charofet. The Hillel sandwich. Excellent, very good. And then you have your meal, right? I would suggest in the beginning of the Haggadah that there is an egg on the table, that people should eat it, and so that they're not that hungry while they're still waiting for the meal. In the meal, you can of course indulge in whatever you want to eat, and then will be followed by the third cup of the Haggadah, again reclining, and then the fourth one is after reading the Birkat Hamazon. At the conclusion of the Birkat Hamazon, we have a lot of wonderful praise to God, psalms and things like that, and many people after they continued and they say, Bashana Haba Yerushalayim, next year will be in Yerushalayim, they sit around the table and sing songs. Very nice, like Haggadah, Echad Mi Yodeya, and all these songs. They're very nice songs. They're not required. They're nice. And if you want to linger, somebody called this song the ditties of Pesach. So whatever you want to call them, that is what we have. So it's very important. And at the end, of course, we have Sefirat HaOmer that we shouldn't forget. So to go back to the foundation of the whole thing, it's a holiday of our freedom. Let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate it properly with the rituals. Let's never forget that it's not a holiday of slavery. Men and women, and particularly the women, should be relaxed, and everyone should help them to make sure that they are at the table in happiness. And may God grant us many, many happy days to come back again and celebrate the wonderful Pesach.
Amen. And of course, the women in particular, because of the women, the whole
Right.
We all got out of Egypt, right?
Absolutely true. The Talmud is very clear about that. He says only because of the women that we were saved.
That's right. So we have to remember that. Everybody should clean, finish, and then come to the table. I remember my mom always came so exhausted.
Right. Very good. Any questions or?
I don't see questions. Either you were very clear, or maybe they will send in questions after. Please do send in questions. I will send a follow-up email so you can send in questions. I hope Rabbi Gabbai will be open to answering them. But we wish everybody a wonderful Pesach, and we hope that this helped to kind of structure the evening and understand how to structure it.
Excellent.
Well,
And invite, if you have a Sephardi house, invite many Ashkenazim because they don't have too much to eat because they don't invite them in your house. They'll be hungry.
It's a problem. I hear that.
Joke.
And we look forward to continuing the series. So thank you so much. Starting with Pesach, when the people of Israel were created, right? The Jewish people were created. That's a good place to start this series. So thank you very much, and Chag Sameach.
Everybody, Chag Sameach, everybody.